What up, random rockers? Yeah! Oh, let's fix that. Okay. It was a little flashy there. But anyways. What up, random rockers? And, apparently we got 5 albums this week on the docket. So, initially I wasn't expecting, but, a couple here and there, but, October 13th was quite a somewhat interesting week. Interesting day. Couple spooky ones too that come out for good for the spooky season. We'll get to those eventually. That'll be much later on. But until then, we start with the Menzingers. The Menzingers. Some of it was true. Now, I've covered the Menzingers before. I think one of my favorite records that came out a few years back was After the Party. Though I was told one of the more previous albums they did wasn't that good, so I just chose not to talk about it or stay away from it. And I heard some of the songs on this thing, including the song you just heard, which was the lead single, Hope It's a Dangerous Little Thing, which honestly is one of the better tracks on this record to me. The only other one that I kind of can think of is, I think, Alone in Dublin. For me, Alone in Dublin and Try seems to be the most energetic songs to me that are definitely feel more full band guitar driven and not as much like what you'd expect from, basically, if you've heard most of Menzingers stuff, it's not that far off from like a Gaslight Anthem kind of a thing. Except way more punk than indie folk, I would say. Or at least but it seems they've kind of started to go in that direction, and it's kind of... But, so speaking of that, I'll eventually be... Speaking of Gaslight Anthem, I know about the comeback record, I'll be eventually covering that. Regardless, for the most part, I don't have too much to say. It's enjoyable. Most of it's a lot of love songs and stuff, though, but... They're not bad. Some fun, but I just don't feel like coming back to this in the same way I would say and After the Party, or possibly whatever they might have done earlier than that. But yeah, the record is fine. It's a thumbs up. Solid to strong thumbs up. But I don't know if I can go any higher than that. I might do a keep it real, but I'm still not sure on that myself, so. But, I mean, if you like some good folk punk, yet alone something more along the lines of indie folk, like Gaslight Anthems, or more like early Gaslight Anthem, like within some combination of those first 2 albums, Sink or Swim and kind of sort of 59 sound, then I guess you'll probably like this, I guess. But if you but if you want something more like an After the Party, that's not here. I don't hate it by any means. It's still solid. It's good for what it is, but it's just not, that level of greatness or masterclass level that After the Party was for me. So I mean, just check it out at your leisure. So moving on to Oni, The Silver Line. This is the follow-up to their last album, to this artist's project. Technically a one-man project, kind of, sort of. This would be the follow-up to their previous album, Loathing Light, which came out last year. I thought was pretty cool. I'm surprised they decided to come up with another album following that, but I mean that within a year following, and that record was more closer to post-grunge and stuff. It was grunge alt metal, I guess, more so than I would say straight up metalcore, I guess. But this is definitely This record is solid enough for what it is. The track Spark was featuring Suko's interesting, but these Silence in a Room of Lies, the lead singles, which were that and Aura, are still like the highlights of this thing. It's metalcore, but in like that octane core kind of way. For those who know what I'm referring to, I'm referring to Sirius XM Octane. That particular type of metalcore. I guess that's a little more on that radio friend ready kind of thing. But it's done fairly decently. It's not done terribly compared to most, or at least compared to what we've been getting from like Alaskan Alexandria or something like that. Like, this is definitely better than that. There are moments where they do a weird like trap thing that kind of comes out of nowhere on the track Spark, I guess. The opening track Silhouette is okay. It's fine. The closing tracks are also fine. I mean, apparently the Dread I did not realize featured Sixth. Members of Sixth involved in that track, so I had no idea that was a collab there, but which was, I think, one of the decent ones, but tracks as well. Saw an Armageddon, which was fine. Burdens of My Soul is a decent closer, I guess. But for the most part, I don't like this as much as their last record, Loathing Life, from last year. But the fact that this came out within a year later after that record, and it still even sounds remotely good, I can't not give a golf clap for that, you know. I can't not, you know. So it's better than most what's probably being put out on the radio, I guess. An Aura, which features Howard Jones and Josh Gilbert. Jones is mostly known for his tenure in Killswitch Engage, has some other projects here and there, especially one included Jaron Giants, which is featured on there. Hell, he was in the video when they were making the track, so I'm guessing when he came in, he was in the middle of eventually working on Aura, I'm guessing. So, but yeah, overall, it's a decent little song, a decent little album. Definitely better than most. Most of that more octane radio ready-ish style of metalcore than core. There's at least some things that they're willing to kind of venture into a little bit. Some does work, some may not, but most works more than doesn't. So, overall, I'd say strong thumbs up to a solid keeping it real, maybe a high keeping it, maybe a more strong keep it real. Yeah, I think Oni's one of those bands to look into, you know. So yeah. But now we get to the bigger names, or at least the bigger records. Moving on to Crosses. Good night. God bless. I love you. Delete. The sophomore studio album following up their, I believe, self-titled debut? Let me see here. Yes, following up the self-titled debut. And their recent EP that I talked about last year, Permanent Radiant. Which I'm trying to think if there was any songs on... No, none of the songs that were on that record did make it into... I almost thought that it did, but I was Completely wrong about that. Which that Permanent Radiant record was a good teaser leading into this record here. And it's essentially... This project is essentially the brainchild of one of the members of Far, of the band Far, and of course, Chino Moreno of Deftones. So, you know, I love me some Deftones. And usually Chino Moreno, when it comes to his side projects, somehow he doesn't do any wrong, even if his side projects tend to sound Deftonesy in their own right. So, but yeah, this record just really good electronic stuff here. Kind of leans into sort of dream pop and some industrial here mixed in here and there. Some trip hop. Almost having a little bit of trap, I guess, kind of, sort of. Big Youth, which featured LP. The LP thing is pretty nice. Youth, which I guess is a reprise to Big Youth, wasn't okay, I guess. But yeah, there's the Robert Smith feature of Girls Float, and Ed Boys Cry, I guess. But there's the cross thing, they're using it for an and, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, Found was pretty good. Invisible Hand, I think, was the lightest feather were, I think, singles. Post Plague was interesting, but I think Runner is one of the ones that really kind of were one of my other favorites. Pleasure is a great opener. Last Rites was nice, I guess. But yeah, and of course the closing title track, which was a decent enough closer, but do I think this is better than their last record? I don't know if I can say that for sure, because it has been a while since I've listened to that self-titled debut. I don't know if I can even... I guess you could say it's definitely even possibly better, but overall, this, for electronic stuff, I wasn't bored or nothing with any of it. And the features were utilized fairly well. This thing, but yeah, overall, this ain't Sophomore Slump. This is not first time this project, one of Chino's projects, is more than just an album project, so which is nice to see. And it shows if he's willing to still commit to it, he can still commit to it. His projects, and yeah, this is great. This is just as solid as the last record. Yeah, I'm willing to just... I don't know if I could say it's master class per se. I'm sure there's some that will. And then more power to you. But for me, I'd say I'd give it a more of a strong keeping it real to a solid horns up. For sure on this thing. Yeah, if you like anything Chino's done in general with whatever he touches, this is definitely not gonna change your mind or steer you away. It's good electronic stuff, leaning industrial, some ambient, and even leaning to dream pop here and there at points. Yeah. Even some trap leaning and stuff, but not so unnecessarily, like, not produced terribly, I guess, like most trap. But anyways, it's definitely more industrial and stuff, and I wouldn't say it goes as hard as that. It's definitely a more sombering thing. It's basically that it's like what Chino has been doing since around the for Deftones. Good fuck music. Good fuck music. And now we move on to way more spooky stuff that came out this week. Starting with Creeper, Sanguivore. Or is it Sanguivore? Sanguivore? Anyway, I hope I pronounced that right. Third studio album, following up Sex, Death, and the Infinite Void, and that EP that came out the year after that I thought was better than that record. And yeah, don't worry, this makes up for that record for sure. Do I think it's better than their debut? I don't know, but it comes pretty damn close. It feels like Creeper's coming back in, and this record is sort of a rock opera. It feels very much like it could have been inspired mostly out from Meatloaf's Bad Outta Hell, but more gothic twisted with some more... hell, I'd even go as far as to say there's more tones to this record that are very in synthwavy, synthwave mixed in with new wavy, mixed in with some hair metal. In terms of the guitar stuff, it's more like if Ghost took more cues from the Misfits and Misfits, Typo Negative, and Sam Hain. If I'm saying that, there's a different way I'm supposed to pronounce that last one, but it's more in that regard. There are like hints, and the opening track that you heard little bits of, Further Than Forever, is quite an epic in and of itself that starts this thing. Cry to Heaven was pretty solid. Sacred Blasphemy is solid. I mean, there's tracks like The Ballad of Spook and Mercy. I believe it's either Teenage Sacrifice or it's Chapel Gates or something, that I think is more of a punk rock straight up more punk rock lenient side of a track, and then you have your more but most of everything else has that Meatloaf type thing. And then of course the closing track, More Than Death, is more of a piano ballad that feels more in line. It still kind of keeps that Meatloafy thing, but has a more, and even in the vocal deliveries, it feels more an interesting combinations of like that more piano rock styles that you expect out of an Elton John and a Billy Joel. It's really well done, and in fact, this is probably more metallically meaty, lenient, and some of its guitar distortion, bordering into that more sort of goth metal, but territory, but that would probably be more closer to Typo Negative and stuff, especially like the vocal deliveries are very has that Dracula Transylvanian thing that you'd expect from a Peter Steele, which I don't remember that much of that in the previous records. Of course, it's been a while since I've listened to some Creeper, so don't entirely quote me on that, but yeah, if you want, like, this is something you could throw on at a party. Well, maybe not a super Catholic party. I may try that, but I don't know if that'll go over well, to be fair. But for a Halloween themed party, I'm sure this will go over super well. Or at least better than in fact, I didn't get a chance to review the first record, but if I did have a chance, I would have put it in Horns Up in Masterclass. And honestly, I'd almost feel like giving that the same treatment to Sanguivore. Almost, but I'm still not for sure. It's so much fun. It's such a fun goth record. That's just perfect for this season of Halloween. I'm dead serious, man. Just put this shit on. But there's something else, and this is probably being the more accessible record. But then there's a not as accessible record that also came out that also has some good spooks. And that album is The Lion's Daughter, Bathhouse. I had to cover that up because maybe in the future if I do somehow get monetized, I doubt it, but at this point, but if I do, yeah, I had to cover that shit up. If you look closely at it a little bit at that at certain points, yeah, it almost looks like it's kind of shooting out milk. Anyways, yeah, this album is the follow-up to one of my top 3 of 2021. That was for a while that year hard to beat until BT Bam and Turnstile did their thing. But yeah, it was, and also what got my attention with them was Skin Show. And gonna just say right off the bat, I still prefer Skin Show, honestly. But does that mean this album isn't at the very least worthy of greatness? Yes, it is. It's better than the singles will lead you to believe. And I didn't even get to the point where when I heard the first singles, Bathhouse though of the singles has grown on me, a bit. I was okay with Maximize Terror. But then things start to get more interesting when we start getting into the more deeper cuts. Your Pets Died on TV, Liminal Blue, which starts off where the synths start to become more forward heavy. In fact, I feel like they kind of traded that in for trying to go back more closer to their Black and Sludge sound, to their primary Black and Sludge sound that's rooted in Death Doom in its own right. And they had this gothic thing to it as well, and very horror punk centric, goth metal centric in a way. More horror punkish, I'd say. Like horror punk metal, I guess. But yeah, this band is, but it's like blackened sludge metal with some synth wavy elements here and there. Dark wave, you could say. Even some industrial rock and metal tinges. Some alternative metal as well at points. Routed. But to me, the track that stood out the most, even with the weird break in the middle of the track, is 12/31/89. That one had the closest thing to something of that level of eeriness and just creep you the fuck out that I got, that made me go, oh shit. Closest to that record. Closest to the last record, Skin Show. Crawler Night was pretty interesting. She Does Not Exist has like a Mortal Kombat synth thing going on. Like if more so in the game kind of a thing, but it's more like jungle-y, kind of like definitely like very like Stranger Things for metal, but more metal than what you and more metal Stranger Things than what you got from the moment of the last season of Stranger Things. But yeah, end credits does feel like it's the end credits, so it's not nearly as strong as like what I would have said about She Does Not Exist personally. But I don't mind the singles more so now in the context of the record, but even still, I'd say they are not the strongest tracks on the record, as opposed to what I feel. Even Rerouted is interesting. But yeah, 12/31/89 is like the standout track to me. And the Bathhouse, even, they have moments where there's some awesome killer lead work that makes up for and other tracks that do show that lead work as well. That's shreddy kind of thing. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, These guys from St. Louis, and I missed a chance to see them. See them apparently at Red Flag. Which if you did, lucky you for their like opening for that stuff. So, and I'm sorry for the lighting of this thing. I can't seem to. Okay, so that's better. Unless that worked, I guess, for now. But yeah. Yeah, this record is... Hell, the album cover speaks for itself, I would say. And it's technically I guess it's technically a succubus? Given it's... the look of it, I guess? But yeah, it's... I mean, I think the album cover might creep you out way more than this record might, but... Well, Skin Show's more creepier than, as an album than I would say the album cover itself, too, by the way, but... But it's still a damn... I can't not knock this record and not say it's a great record. And that these Lion's Daughter is one of these St. Louis bands from St. Louis and currently in metal, underground metal, that you need to check the hell out. Like, even if I can't give it the masterclass certification I gave Skin Show, I can't not give it a straw and horns up. And not consider it possibly it'll make my top 10. I don't think it'll make my top 3. Like it did last time. However, it could very well make my top 10. It's, yeah. This is really, really, it could, but well, I'll have to reevaluate that. If not, it'll probably make higher honorable mentions. Without question. So, yeah. Lion's Daughter kind of surpassed what expectations I initially had going into it. They did it again. Yeah. If you've been sleeping on this band, like I did before Skin Show came out, shame on you. Shame on myself. I almost doubted this band from the singles of this record, and I was pleasantly glad enough to be proven wrong. Maybe not about it being not better than Skin Show, but in my opinion, but still, I only expected it to just be good. But no, this thing is great. This thing's great, and it's holy shit. It's just, it's still quite a terrifying journey. But yeah. What did you think of all these albums? Leave a comment below. Let me know. And as always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video. Sorry for another long one, but 5 albums this time instead of 3, so I didn't. But, oh well. Take care, y'all.